Oh, hello there. Are you ready to talk about a Marvel TV show about witches? I don't think there's anything else important happening in the world right now that I should be paying attention to or anything. Mm. Delicious. Okay, but really, Agatha All Along just ended and it was, pretty good. And I feel like I should talk about it for a little bit because most of the Marvel shows have not been pretty good, so there's something a bit different about this one. And I think that's been kind of represented by the buzz about it online. I don't think it's a perfect show. I feel like I open every review with that I don't think it's a perfect, but it's definitely one of the strongest Marvel shows, specifically because it feels like it was made with a plan, which seems obvious, but it's really like the first hurdle where a lot of these Marvel shows fail. You go into this show and you watch it and you go, okay, episode 1 to episode 8, I understand what's going on. Everything tracks, everything follows logically. Every episode feels like a distinct episode that has something it wants to do, wants to progress the plot in this way. There's no spinning wheels, which is an issue with a lot of these shows where it feels like you're watching just to see stuff happen without any real feeling that it's going anywhere. Whereas this show feels like a TV show, which is nice. I guess, spoilers, obviously. It's kind of about Agatha. It's really about teen, as they call him for half the show, going through this magical realm where things happen. It's a very simple show. I believe this is the cheapest Marvel show they've ever made, and you could not tell. It seems much more expensive than, Echo was, but they knew how to use their budget well, which shows. It's a lot of practical stuff. They're going for a very specific vibe with the sort of witchy type show. Something like, I don't want to say like Vampire Diaries, more high budget than that, but that sort of aesthetic of like the TV witches. And all of the set design is really good. Each of these trials is themed after a separate thing, so they'll go through like an 80s one or a 50s one, and everyone will be up in costume, and all the set design will be arranged in this way. So it's a very fun visual show that keeps it mixing up every episode, which is fun. All of the characters are good, lots of really strong performances, especially by Catherine Hahn, and it's not in there. It might be in there. Teen. What's his name? Don't think it's in there. He's really good too, though. It's a show where the mysteries make sense, which is something I really appreciate, because in a lot of shows, especially in the post, I want to say this started with Game of Thrones. I remember there was an interview with the Game of Thrones guys where they were talking about how they had to change things because Reddit had already figured out what was going to happen, and that kind of impulse where every twist has to be a total surprise is really annoying, because what makes a good twist narratively interesting is that you can look back and see all the clues that it was there, and if you change it halfway through, then half the clues you left are just misleading. Whereas this show, I haven't rewatched it yet, but I know going back to rewatch it, there's a lot of stuff where you'll go, oh, obviously. And that's what makes an interesting twist. That's why, even if you already know the answer to a mystery, rewatching it again can still be interesting. I'd say, there's 3 big ones, right, in the show, and I think all of them are handled interestingly, and all of them are they're kind of showcased as the episodes go along, so that you get, one big twist at a time instead of a bunch at once. The first one is, what's the deal with Aubrey Plaza, Rio? Turns out that she is literally death, which, if you go back, you can kind of see coming, and I think works well, and she doesn't really feel like a villain, she just feels like a force of nature, which is, I think, the best way you possibly can portray death, because death doesn't really have motives per se, death is just a constant in the universe. So I think portraying death in an Aubrey Plaza way makes sense, because she plays characters that are weird. And also the episode that's revealed in episode 7 is one of the strongest episodes. It might be the best episode of any Marvel TV show. It's just a really, really solid episode where you're jumping through time, and it's all rooted in Ilya, I think is the character's name, Paddy LuPone's character. And it's just a really solid, well done episode. It's not confusing to follow because even though you're jumping back and forward in time, you're always rooted in this one character's perspective, and it makes a bunch of the stuff that she's done in previous episodes suddenly have a lot more context. It's just really, really well done. Just a very clever episode of television. The second big twist, which I thought was great and did actually catch me by surprise, is that the Witch's Road, which is this thing they've been on the whole time, isn't real. It was manifested by Billy Maximov. I guess that was another twist, but was it though? I think I went into the show knowing that was already going to be the case, but whatever. That's fine. It's fine if you already know the twist, because that means it's a functional twist and you can figure it out logically. That's good. But it recontextualized the whole show in a really interesting way, which I appreciated a lot, where you go back and you go, oh, Agatha knew it was fake the whole time. And that makes the show, like, I don't know, that's the kind of twist that works. The twist that it doesn't ruin everything that came before by going, well, that was all pointless. You go, oh, that meant something different than I thought it meant. And that's good. I feel like with a lot of this, I'm praising stuff that's obvious. But it's hard to state how low the bar is for a lot of these Disney Plus shows, where you watch and you go, okay, I guess I was minorly entertained. I think, what was the last show I talked about here? What was the last show that came out that I made a quick review on? Apparently I've already forgotten. I think it was one of the Star Wars ones. It was The Acolyte. But that show's totally blank from my memory at this point. Okay. That show was... I described it as a show that it's only worth watching if you already own Disney Plus. And this is actually one of the few shows where I would say this is worth watching. Period. So, that's something you should be able to say about any good TV show, but with all these Marvel and Star Wars ones, there's always been that asterisk of like, well, you have to be like a super fan. Whereas I feel like you'd probably watch this one having maybe only seen WandaVision, although I think even if you haven't seen WandaVision, you'd be like, okay, I think I understand enough from context clues to understand what happened in WandaVision. Because it feels like, not really a self-contained story, but a story that is what's separate on its own, disconnected from anything else. It doesn't feel like it's teasing anything, or like its entire purpose is to tease something in the future, because it does tease some stuff at the very end, or at least like leave things open-ended where there's different directions these characters could go. But it's not filled with cameos. It's really just 6 characters, and the entire show is 6 characters, and eventually that number gets whittled down as it goes along. So it's a very self-contained narrative, and it's very stylish, and it feels like what all of these should have been all along is they should be, like, if you look at comic books, and I'm not a massive comic book reader myself, but comic books, they have lots of different runs, they have lots of different artists, and different writers. You don't go into, like, the Marvel comic book universe expecting to read everything. You read the characters that you want to read, and that have themes that appeal to you. So, if you're into witches and magic, you would pick up the Agatha comic book maybe, but you would probably be less interested in an Iron Man comic book. And that would be fine. And when the big events come up, you would read those events, and you would have, like, your person in the ring that you're like, I'm here for them, and maybe this event will bring me to these other people as well. And the MCU has never quite worked like that. The MCU has more been, you're expected to watch everything. This has been described by myself and others as you've got homework to do. Whereas I would not be worried about, like, if it's going to matter that you watch this going into Doomsday, I think is the next one's called now. We'll see. I don't think much of this is going to come up, but if, like, Ghost Agatha shows up in it, you'll be like, okay, I guess something happened there and you can look into it if you want, but it doesn't matter that you didn't watch it. And some of the shows have kind of been like that, but they kind of, I don't know, they've never been quite sure what to do with these shows. They're definitely on different levels of importance. Like, it turned out that Miss Marvel was, like, a big deal, and we all knew it was going to be, because Miss Marvel should have been a movie, because, like, that character and that supporting cast were critically important to the Marvels, as so is WandaVision with Monica Rambeau, and they just kind of gloss over that stuff in the movie and don't really explain it like you're supposed to have seen the stuff, and that's, like, the primo example of you need to have done the homework to properly enjoy the movie. I don't know, it's convoluted, and I understand why people are sick of the cinematic universe stuff. I don't mind it per se, because, I don't know, I kind of enjoy that aspect of it. I enjoy the homework. I enjoy the little connections and nods and things like that bring stuff together. I like that kind of stuff. I think it's okay, but it's only okay if all of the individual pieces are also still good and not completely reliant on other stuff. They still need to be worth watching on their own merit. And yeah, I guess I was talking about the big twist of the show. The third twist is that Agatha, it's kind of like the opposite of a twist in a way, which I appreciate, is Agatha is a villain. I know Agatha was a villain all along, name of the show, but that she, not only did she know that the Witch's Road was always fake, she's the one who came up with the concept in the first place as a con to murder people. So, she's bad. She's bad, but in a way where she's still human, that just makes her an interesting character. Like, she is kind of irredeemable, but she still has humanity and emotions and this longing for her son that she lost and all this, which it humanizes her in a way that makes her compelling, if not redeemable. And some people are annoyed that she came back as a ghost. I think that makes perfect sense for this character, because her whole deal is about, like, denial, basically. So, even in death, she still lingers around because she refuses to accept that she's actually dead. And I think that works for her character, and she's fun, and Catherine Hahn is just the perfect witch. She's great in this. She's bringing so much to this role. She's always good and stuff, and I feel like for, like, 20 years, she's always just been, like, someone you bring on in sitcoms to be, like, a one-off bit part. But she's great. She should be in more stuff. There was a big kerfuffle in the build-up to this show that it was going to be the gayest Marvel show ever, and whenever they say that, you kind of roll your eyes and you go, oh, sure, man, sure. Just like how there was a gay guy in the council in Infinity War. That makes Infinity War, or that was Endgame, whatever. That makes Infinity War super gay or whatever. No, it doesn't. But with this show, you know what? I'll give it to them. I think we can officially call this the gayest Marvel show, or Marvel anything, because we have 2 on-screen gay kisses from major characters that are, like, one of which is, like, critical to the entire build-up of the whole show. So, you know, point to you. I'll give you that one. And yeah, it's kind of a hard show to talk about with just off the top of my head, because it kind of speaks for itself, which is a nice thing to say about a show. Like, you watch it and you go, oh, I get it, and I don't want to, like, spoil too much of it, because it's just worth watching. You should watch it. And yeah, I'm excited to see where these characters go next. I am absolutely shocked that they haven't already announced the Young Avengers project. Like, what are we doing? We have all of the pieces in place now for a Young Avengers movie or show. Are you just gonna settle on that? I don't know, man. It seems pretty obvious at this point. These actors aren't getting any younger. You want to jump on that pretty quickly, but whatever. I'm not Kevin, so he can do what he wants. He can. What's, like, the weirdest thing the Marvel Zombies cartoon? I couldn't give less of a crap about that, but that's a me problem. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. My voice appears to be disappearing, so I guess it's time to wrap up this little video. So, thank you very much for watching, and a very special thank you to my wonderful patrons for your continued support. If you'd like to see your name up here, or just support the things that I do, then please consider signing up. It would mean a lot to me, as well as a like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring the bell. If you want to see the lowest of the low of where these Marvel shows can be, then here's a video about Secret Invasion. Do you remember when that came out? That was a train wreck. Or here's my most recent Assassin's Creed critique video because it could use some more love. So click on that one as well, please. Thank you, bye-bye.